Hey, today I thought we'd do an unboxing. It's going to be all CGC books. I got a shipment back earlier in the week. It's pretty cool. It it's good when you start getting more than one shipment in because you kind of get a pipeline and the wait doesn't seem as long. But this was the first of the books that I've submitted, so I got 14 I think back, and generally pretty happy with them. If you've never gotten a box before of them, you get one of these guys, and it's gigantic, double walled. They pack the hell out of these things, and you know, it's great when you get it and you get to open it up. It's like Christmas all over again. I watched a video earlier today. ETA Nick posted his video, and he's fortunate enough, he lives close enough where he drives, and he drops his books off and picks up, and he usually drops some off when he's picking up other books, so that's pretty great. And he can just monitor it and see when, you know, what stages, you know, grading and when they're ready for pickup. I ship in with a friend of mine, and he ships in often. I'd say probably every other week. So I usually just, he'll let me know I got a spot for 5, 10, 15 books, whatever, and this time he had enough room for about 15. So I went through, pulled out 15 1975 plus books. That's CGC does that cut there. You got 1975 and forward, 1975 and back. Or pre-75. So I went through and I grabbed those books, did some cleaning on them, dry cleaning, and you know, minor work to them, and then I hand them out to my friend. And I've showed on previous videos, he's fantastic at pressing. So he gives them a final press before they go. So I guess to start it off, we'll go with a book that I referenced in an earlier video, and I have a copy of it. I think it's probably a 7.5. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it. I haven't done anything with it. But when I get one like that, I'll send in the better of the two to get slabbed, and then I'll sell it off so I can buy more stuff. As long as it presents well. I'm more for a bunch of small accumulating errors than one giant like subscription crease or something like that. I don't mind a little bit of folds here and there, as long as it presents well. But anyway, I sent in my Iron Fist #1, and I got a 9.2. So that's great. These books are all going to go up and be sold, so I can continue my habit of comic collecting. So it's been worked pretty good so far. I've been liquidating my large collection. At one point, I think, geez, I had 25 long boxes and I think 20 short boxes full of stuff. So I've been going through and getting rid of a lot of stuff and either trading or selling and then buying more stuff. So that's the goal, at least, and you guys are along for the ride, I suppose. This book here, I got at a local comic shop, and I was digging through his stuff, and I found 3 of these, and I bought all 3 of them. The guy gave me a deal, so that was pretty cool. But when I got it, it looked to me to be about an 8. It was very, very dirty, so I cleaned it, and the other 2 as well. This one was the best of the bunch. I thought it was probably an 8.0, maybe an 8.5. When I gave it to my friend, he did some more work on it and pressed it, and it came back Black Lightning #1, kind of heating up because of the show, and we got a 9.4. So really, really happy with that. He just knocks it out of the park every time I give him these. So he doesn't do pressing for professionally, though. He just does it for himself and myself, cleaning books up. I've always done dry cleaning, but and I do pressing myself. But anytime I get a really good book that I know I want to send in, I usually send it. He's going to send it in anyway, so I ask him to take a look at it, and if he thinks he can make it better, he does. And he really, really, really did a great job this time around. This book is another one that I bought. These, the first 3 that I showed, I didn't buy off the rack. Everything else I bought off the rack. So these first 3. I purchased at a later date. Again, this one I bought, and it was listed as an 8.0, and I got it, and I thought it was okay, but it had some defects in it. It's an older book. It's from 1976. Again, very dirty, mostly just from back in the day when you collected, you stacked your comics. You didn't have comic boxes, at least I didn't. And every penny I had went to comics, not comic paraphernalia. I mean, even posters I wouldn't buy. It was all comics and bags here and there, but no boards, and you'd get that film on the back of your comics, and it was like grayish, and it's probably just transferred from you know, the backs touching the fronts. But anyway, he got a hold of this one and cleaned it up a little more and pressed it for me. Came back X-Men 100, and got a 9.6 on it, and white pages, which for a book this old is fantastic. And I do remember when I looked at this thing, they are crisp. I mean, these corners are perfect. You can usually turn them over and you can tell, but this has near perfect centering on it. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I know with my other copy, the 25-cent circle is clipped from the wrap, so just a great, great book. Very, very happy with that, and I'm sure it'll do quite well when I sell it. Next one is a book that's been also heating up because of the movies. Most of these modern ones, I think, are what's driving that. Never was a fan of this volume. It's Silver Surfer 44, first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet, and this book was in great shape, but it didn't really need much of anything. I'm sure we gave it a quick press, and that's all it needed. Sometimes I wonder. I got a 9.6 on it, which is great. It's a nice book. Again, not a big fan, so off it goes. But I wonder sometimes on another day would that have gotten a 9.8, because when you look at these things, sometimes you can't see any difference. And even when you look at the grader's notes, it'll be very vague and nothing that's helpful to you. It'll say something like edge wear or something like that, and then you look at all four edges, you don't see anything. So I think there are different teams. It's 3-man teams is how they do their grading, and they have multiple teams. So I don't know. I will say though that when we send these in, we have little sticky post-its, and we'll both come up with an idea what we think they are as grade-wise, and then when we get the shipments in, he won't look at once it says they're graded, we don't look at that anymore, because I don't want to know the grades ahead of time, because we'll get these and we open them up together and we have a big unboxing, and it's kind of fun because then we open them up with your hand over the edge of it, and then we'll reveal it. So it's kind of a fun moment to see how you did, and sometimes it's a sour note, sometimes it's slower than you hoped, but every single one of these came in at what I thought or higher, and in some cases much, much higher. That Black Lightning book I thought was a 9.0 at best, and it came back as a 9.4, so that's awesome. But this one here, he had to do quite a lot of work on. It was the one that I read. I bought 2 of these, and back in the day, I used to always buy 2 of books that I thought were going to be important. Like I knew this was a first appearance of a character, so I grabbed this, and yes, I grabbed 2 of Deadpool as well off the rack, and I think I bought 3 or 4 Spider-Man 300s. So all of these books that I'm showing now are off the rack. That Silver Surfer, this one. So it's $1, and at the time I think my LCS was giving me 20% off, so I think I paid 80 cents for this thing. But this whole box, I think I have less than $30 invested in these books. Pretty cool. Cover price at least. And you got your slabbing fees too. But got a 9.6 after a lot of work, because it had a little bit of ripple on it, and but it came out real nice. So I was interested when we saw that to see, okay, how did number 2 do? So 2 was never read. I got it, put it right away in a bag. So we got that one back and got a 9.8. So I know Nick got a 9.8 as well. So I'm going to shoot him a message and ask him when you list in your 9.8, because I'll make sure I don't put mine up at the same time. I don't want to be battling. Another one is, I remember when this book came out, everyone went crazy for it. They loved the cover, they loved the whole idea of it, and I think a lot of people that missed out the first time around, this was their second chance at it, and they jumped on it. In these higher books, you really do want, I think, a minimum of a 9.6 if you're planning on selling them, because there are just so many of them. So many of them are around. It's not like you have to see that they survive or not. There's literally thousands of these things out there, I'm sure. So if you can get a 9.6 or better in a modern book like this, Hulk 340, I think people were yearning for this because of the 181. This was around the time frame, remember, where reselling and collectibles really started to take off, and but I got a 9.8 on it. So I bought it, put it in a bag, and that was that. I think I had one of these way back in the day, but I traded, and if I remember right, I traded for a Werf by Night 32, and I'll bring that out someday. Looking back on it, I guess it was a good trade. The copy I have was pretty rough. Someone took a marker and colored in the yellow on it, so I'll hang on to it. I always loved the Werf by Night. I thought it was a great series, but I did buy 2 of that Hulk, and I remember the guy at the time that I traded to, he was crazy for Wolverine, and he missed it for whatever reason, so I traded him that, and I got that, and I think a couple of other Silver Age X-Men. So, long term, I guess I did better, and to me, I don't care about that book at all, so whatever, sell it. This next one couldn't be more in the camp of I really don't care about this book at all. I'm just very happy that I got the grade I did. It's interesting because when you try to look this up on eBay to check out prices, as I do before I send stuff out, I always look at sold prices to see what stuff's going for, and I generally take $100. If something's selling regularly for $100 at the grade I think I have the book in, then I'll send it in and get it slabbed. Otherwise, I'll hang on to it and sell it raw. But this one is the first appearance of Squirrel Girl. Marvel Superheroes Winter Special, but I think they call it Volume 2-8 according to CGC, so I imagine that's what people look for it. I think it's a silly character, but it's struck a chord with people these days and they love it, so hopefully those that love it will find this when I list it and buy it, so that'd be great. One thing too about these cases that I'm handling them, the backs are almost flat now. There's no bump anymore. The front still has a little bit in, so it's a little bit cupped, but they're really sturdy. They just you just can't. They're rigid as hell. The ones that came out, I think, where they had that Newton effect, I think they call it, where it almost looks like oil slick on blacktop. Those ones do feel creaky, like you can twist them and you can feel them bending. But the last ones are all Spider-Man comics. So this one I got, and I thought it was probably around an 8.5, maybe an 8.0. I cleaned up as best I could. I did press it once myself, and I handed it off to him, and he did his thing on it, and we got it back and got a 9.2. So that's great. I do have another copy of this. It's like a 7. So that'll be for me to hang on to for my collection. But I'll sell that one, and like I keep saying, I'll just be able to build more money to buy more stuff, I guess, better stuff. So next one is 298. I got a 9.4 on that. First artwork by Todd McFarlane on this series. Cool. I remember when this came out, and I grabbed this, and because I hadn't bought a Spider-Man in a long time, and I bought this and the next book at the same time, $2.99, and I got a 9.8 on that. So I just, again, I wonder sometimes, because to me, at glancing at these, I figured they were both probably 9.4s, maybe 9.6s. One I got a 9.4 on. This one I got a 9.8 on. So, you look at that and you think, geez, I'm a bad grader, maybe, but I guess I'd rather be that I grade too rough and I get higher grades, because that's better than the alternative of hoping that you got a 9.6 or 9.8 and you get back a 9.0 or something terrible like that, especially if it's a big book, or even worse if you spend a lot of time working on it, cleaning it, and working out the defects and all. Then I got 300, of course. So after I looked at those, I had a feeling, because this artwork was just so different, and I'm not a big fan of Todd McFarlane, but a lot of people like it, but it just had a kind of a cartoony look to me, and that it still exists today. And those books, I think, really, people like Todd McFarlane, and I'm trying to remember the other ones, Jim Lee, and some of those guys that eventually went over to Image, but they really changed the way artwork was done. And I don't like the way the new Marvel books are drawn, really, at all. Very cartoony looking to me and silly. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Some of the ones that I can reference, they're just not good, I don't think. But everyone has their own opinion, I suppose. So I got 301. But back at the, when I was getting these, I grabbed 3 or 4 300s, and I've had them all done. And I did get a 9.8 on one of them, and to me they were all pretty much the same. So the other two I had graded about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, before I really started doing the the pressing, and I got 9.4s on both of them. So I looked up the notes on it, and they say there's a corner crush on the bottom right. So I looked at it, and it's very faint, but I imagine, since it was front and back cover, that knocked me down probably from a 9.8 down to 9.4. So both are very pressable, and it's very tempting to crack those 9.4s open and see if I can do better. Even a bump to a 9.6 is probably a couple $100 in value on eBay. So it's worth it, and it's, I can't imagine it going anything worse. So worst thing I have to give up, I guess, is whatever the submission fee is. This one, though, is kind of a book that's heating up too. First appearance of Venom on the cover, I believe. 316, great book, and I got a 9.8 on it, so that's awesome. Most of my books in this era, I'm sure I could send them all in and get 9.6s or 9.8s on them. I would get them immediately and pull the copy out of the middle so I wouldn't get the top or bottom string edges on them, and made sure I didn't have frayed edges, and immediately into a bag and into an upright long box. So I imagine most of them are going to be in pretty dang good shape. So I have the full run pretty much from 250 all the way through. I think it's 350 probably. So I'll be going through all those. The next one is going crazy, and people are buying this like crazy. They love this character. I've never been a big fan. I've never been a fan of a character that's a derivative of somebody else. So this is the first appearance of Carnage, which is, kind of a piece of Venom that crawled off of him and crawled on Cletus Cassidy in prison. And this is his first appearance, 361. And I noticed that even the second printing of this, which I have a couple copies of, that has the silver instead of the white here, that I've seen a couple sales over $100. So that just blows my mind that, but I guess if you want that book and you can't afford the first print, then that's out there. So I might end up slabbing that one as well. But I was real happy. I got a 9.8 on this one, so I'm sure this is going to be one that will heat up when I list it, and will help me buy some more stuff. I only have 3 books left on my 2017 list, so hopefully selling these, I should be able to get those. I don't think they're real high dollar books, but moving ever forward, trying to get my hands on books that I really want to get. Avengers #4 would be one I would love, and Fantastic Four 1. I've had a few of them pass through my hands and had an opportunity to buy, but so that's the goal, I guess, to keep downsizing and selling off as much as I can, or trading is fine, about like we used to when we were kids. But I really want to get back more into the silver and early bronze stuff. Really, the sweet spot for me is like probably 67 through probably 81. I would say. Other than that, I still do read some of the new stuff, mostly digitally, and I have most of the old books on the DVD ROMs that came out, so I read that way. But there's just something about opening up the old book and feeling the paper and the smell of them that you don't get digitally, or if you read trades. So that's the unboxing for today, and I have more stuff coming in, and plans for other videos, so let me know if you like that. Just leave some notes below. And one other thing I was thinking about, I collect without slabbing mostly. I only slab stuff when I'm going to sell it, but I know there's a large group of people out there that collect that also like to just collect slabs. They like that certainty of the grade. I like to be able to still open the book up if need be. I usually keep them in the Mylar and all that, but I do keep a couple books that I'm going to probably keep long term that are higher value, and I guess in the back of my mind is something ever happens to you, that it's easy for the people you leave behind to deal with your collection. So be interested in what this community's thoughts are on that, and I guess until next time, keep reading.